This is Dan Dix here reporting for Press for Truth, and the images that you're looking at right here are from the incredible moment that two young twin boys, aged 8 years old, they also have an older brother who's 10, were rescued from their home after their parents had kept them on COVID lockdown for over 4 years. You can see they don't even have shoes because the parents had no need to buy them any new shoes since these guys haven't been outside the house in 4 years. This is their father, who was clearly absolutely terrified of COVID, which led him to do these things. This is the house that they were held captive in absolute filth. The boys were still sleeping in a crib. In fact, they have been on lockdown for over half of their entire lives. When police officers approached the home on April 28th, the father reportedly agreed to let them in. Officers who went into the home noted that they saw the parents place up to 3 masks on the children before letting the cops in. And the mother ended up telling them to be careful since her children are very sick, she said. Speaking to El Comunico newspaper, investigators suggested that the parents suffered from COVID syndrome and had continued to live in fear of the virus for several years. We've all been affected by COVID syndrome and the consequences of the pandemic. We can reflect on what led a family to live in a confinement for so long, the investigators said. The children appeared to be amazed that they were finally allowed outdoors and went to touch the grass on the lawn, investigators said. They had been forced to wear 3 face masks on top of each other before the officers were allowed to enter the house. The family were living in the northern town of Oviedo in a villa that was raided by the police during this week's major power cut. The parents initially demanded that the officers put on face masks. These officers put on face masks before they came in to search the house. People living nearby said the family were reclusive and they never left the house, with food being delivered to the door as if the pandemic was still ongoing. After entering the house, police found a large supply of face masks and medicine, along with a huge amount of rubbish. A seriously ill cat was also found, which had seemingly not been taken to the vet because the parents feared they would catch coronavirus. Investigators had to speak in English to the children, 8-year-old twins and 10-year-old, because they hadn't been attending school there in Spain and not learning any Spanish. The family was reported to have been living under lockdown conditions since 2021, despite the fact that COVID restrictions have been lifted in Spain in March of 2022. And they keep suggesting that these people are simply just suffering from COVID syndrome. And that's why they continue to live in fear of the virus for so many years. Well, I want to remind you guys that the World Economic Forum literally admitted that COVID-19 was a test of social responsibility. A huge number of unimaginable restrictions for public health were adopted by billions of citizens across the world. There were numerous examples globally of maintaining social distancing, wearing masks, mass vaccinations, and acceptance of contact tracing applications for public health, which demonstrated the core of individual social responsibility. Well, guess what else it demonstrated, ladies and gentlemen? 3 siblings being rescued from a house of horrors after this COVID-19, COVID syndrome their parents had kept them locked inside since 2021. It's absolutely insane. Meanwhile, what these parents ought to be more concerned with is the fact that the National Institute of Health has announced the development of a universal vaccine for COVID and influenza, or the fact that they're already working on inhaled COVID-19 vaccines that have already begun phase 2 of human trials. Or what about the fact that scientists are now working on mRNA shots for every single imaginable infectious disease ever, despite the fact that the dangers of the mRNA shots are so well documented that 11 states have thus far pursued bans on them? No, they would rather worry about clinical trials for long COVID treatment, like as if that's a thing, folks. So In this video, I want to explain to you how this whole test of social responsibility that was talked about by the WEF really amounts to a massive Asch conformity test. And we are obviously the subjects of it. So we're going to talk about that and much, much more, guys, in this video. But really quickly, just before we do, I want to remind you that the 2025 annual Bilderberg conference is coming up. It's right around the corner, guys, and I'm going to be heading to Stockholm, Sweden, to provide you with the kind of coverage that you've come to expect from Press for Truth at Bilderberg. I so far have 22 people who have contributed to this cause. Thank you so much to everybody who has done so already. It's greatly appreciated, guys, but I'm hoping maybe we can get this number up to 30 people today to help me with my efforts to expose the Bilderberg group next month in Stockholm, Sweden. So if that's something you would like to contribute to, guys, please check the top link in the description below on whatever video platform you happen to be watching this one on today. All right, guys, check this out. 3 children were dramatically rescued from a COVID lockdown house of horrors, after being forced for years to stay inside and wear face masks long after the pandemic restrictions ended. The siblings, 8-year-old twins and a 10-year-old, were finally freed from their home in Spain's northwest on Monday after being locked inside since 2021. As soon as we got them out, all 3 children began to breathe deeply, as if they had never been outside before. Harrowing photos published by the Spanish media showed the kids, who are German, emerging from the home wearing face masks. Immediately after stepping outside, cops said the children appeared to be amazed, and they went to touch and feel the grass. The children's parents, only identified as a 48-year-old German-American woman and her 53-year-old German husband, were arrested and slapped with domestic violence and child abandonment charges. Investigators said the parents were suffering from COVID syndrome and had allegedly forced the entire family to live under strict lockdown conditions for several years. Cops made the grim discovery after neighbors reported that the children living inside hadn't been going to school. The children were in terrible shape. It was absolutely outrageous. They were not malnourished because they were fed, but they were dirty. They were completely cut off from reality, and not just because they didn't go to school. When we took them out of the house and into the garden, they weren't even allowed to go outside. They saw a snail and they literally, completely freaked out. So this is just a horrific story that really truly shows the horrors of what can come from so-called COVID syndrome. And you have to consider the fact that you've got the World Economic Forum here suggesting that this whole event was a test of social responsibility, saying that it was able, they demonstrated the core of individual responsibility throughout this whole, COVID 1984 psyop. And and as I pointed out in this important video, basically what they are admitting to here in this test of social responsibility is the Asch conformity test essentially playing itself out in real life. Because in this video, I showed you how this Asch conformity experiment proves that the majority of people's beliefs and ideas and understandings of various things can easily be influenced and steered into a desired direction that contradicts what they know to be true. That is, until a key and very telling variable is introduced. And in today's video, I was going to explain to you how the WEF's test of social responsibility compares to the Asch conformity test. And then I realized I actually already said it perfectly in this video. So I want to replay this one for you today, just in case you haven't seen it, because as I said, I pretty much summed up my views on this. I feel very well in this particular video, and I think it will give you a little bit of hope. It will give you a little bit of inspiration to know that you can actually have a major effect on affecting the overall psyche of society and individuals who are all around you, simply by having integrity and doing what you know is, the right thing to do. And that's exactly what I explained in this video, which I think is of the utmost of importance to understand, especially today, as we're hearing about this horrific case of COVID syndrome, where parents kept their kids locked inside since 2021. So this is really, really important information for you guys to understand. So if you have already seen this one, sorry about the replay today, but hey, even if you've already seen it, it's a good one to watch again. And if you haven't seen it, again, I think you're going to appreciate the hope that we have, and when it comes to maintaining your integrity and having an influence on people in the next major pandemic that is coming down the pike. Because let's face it, guys, it's not like this thing is over and we're out of it. No, there's another one coming, soon, who knows when, but another one is coming, and it's important that we understand how to deal with it and to help our fellow human beings deal with it. Like, this guy who was obviously watching far too much television during the COVID eras. So just wanted to bring all of this to your attention, guys. Please, once again, don't forget to check me out at this Go Get funding campaign. If you appreciate my efforts to bring you this info, guys, I'm going to be heading to Stockholm, Sweden to expose the Bilderberg group, and I do need your help to do so. Once again, thank you so much to the 22 donors who have already donated. Let's see if we can get this number up to 30 today, guys. You can do that by clicking the top link in the description below. And without further ado, guys, I want to play for you this video that, I put a lot of effort into, saying it well. So rather than just repeating myself here today, I'll just play this one for you. Without further ado, here it is. This is my video titled, "The WEF Admits That COVID-19 Was a Test of Social Responsibility," aka the Asch Conformity Test.
The Asch experiment is one of psychology's oldest and most popular pieces of research. A volunteer is told that he's taking part in a visual perception test. What he doesn't know is that the other participants are actors, and he's the only person taking part in the real test, which is actually about group conformity.
Please begin. The experiment you will be taking part in today involves the perception of line length. Your task will be simply to look at the line here on the left and indicate which of the three lines on the right is equal to it in length. So, for example, if you...
The actors have been told to match the wrong lines. The volunteer will be monitored to see if he gives the correct answer or if he goes along with the opinion of the group and gives the wrong answer. In the first test, the correct answer is 2.
1. 1. 1. 2.
1. Once again, the correct answer is 2.
3. 3. 3. 3.
3.
The Asch experiment has been repeated many times, and the results have been supported again and again. We will conform to the group. Again, we're very social creatures. We're very much aware of what the people around us think. We want to be liked. We don't want to be seen to rock the boat, so we will go along with the group. Even if we don't believe what people are saying, we'll still go along.
1. 1. 1.
Group dynamics is one of the most powerful forces in human psychology.
The gentleman in the elevator now is a candid star. These folks who are entering, the man with a white shirt, the lady with a trench coat, and subsequently one other member of our staff, will face the rear. And you'll see how this man in the trench coat tries to maintain his individuality But little by little, he looks at his watch, but he's really making an excuse for turning just a little bit more to the wall. Now we'll try it once again. Here's the candid subject. Here comes the candid camera staff, 3 of them at least. And this man has apparently been in groups before. Here's a fella with his hat on in the elevator. First he makes a full turn to the rear, and Charlie closes the door. A moment later, we'll open the door. Everybody's changed positions. Now we'll see if we can use group pressure for some good. Now, in a moment, on Charlie's signal, everybody turns forward. Notice they take off their hats. And now, do you think we could reverse the procedure? Watch.
And BC's sweeping new measures will extend current restrictions and add new provincial health orders. And after weeks of mounting pressure, masks will now be mandatory in all indoor public spaces. Many business owners had been pleading for a mask order, as some customers were still turning up without them.
If it's mandatory by BC, then we can strictly enforce the law and stop the person at the door.
Now they will be mandatory, and social gatherings will be restricted across the entire province.
Well, I have a feeling that they'll use the age-old tactic of, order out of chaos, or problem, reaction, solution. It could be a health pandemic. It could be an economic crash. They need something to get Canadians into this fear state. This is Dan Dix here reporting for Press for Truth, and the video that you just saw is a video that I uploaded way back in 2020. 4 years ago now, that was obviously attempting to show a connection between the Asch conformity experiment and everything that we were seeing play out in society in terms of everyone conforming to the mandatory mask mandates, the social distancing, the lockdown measures and everything of that nature, because at the time I knew, most people knew it was stupid, that little pieces of plexiglass in front of a cash register where, things could just go around are stupid. Paper masks with these holes in them that are not even designed to block viruses from going in are stupid. But people still did it. They conformed because human beings are largely social creatures who want to be accepted into the group. And so I put that video together to explain, on a psychological level how this can be done. Now fast forward a couple of years later, and the WEF, the World Economic Forum, who I will remind you were the guys who in 2019 put out Event 201, a simulated event that was an attempt to gauge how the world might react to a potential global pandemic. And then sure enough, within months, the very real thing played out in real time, and everything that they predicted came true. Well, a couple of years ago, the WEF put out an article that was dealing mainly with carbon taxes and future smart cities. But in this article, there was one particular paragraph that I found to be very revealing, where it actually openly admitted that COVID-19 was essentially a psychological test of conformity to see who is going to play along with this under the guise of it being, you know, all about social responsibilities. So I want to play for you now a little audio clip that will read this paragraph from a WEF article that was released 2 years ago that essentially admits everything that I was trying to explain back in 2020 with my Asch conformity video. Check this out.
COVID-19 was the test of social responsibility. A huge number of unimaginable restrictions for public health were adopted by billions of citizens across the world. There were numerous examples globally of maintaining social distancing, wearing masks, mass vaccinations, and acceptance of contact tracing applications for public health, which demonstrated the core of individuals' social responsibility.
So it's pretty blatantly clear, I would say, that they've openly admitted that this was indeed partly a psychological operation to see who would go along with this and conform under the guise of it being socially responsible. Now, the reason why I wanted to bring this up to you today and share this video with you today is because I've recently learned of something about the Asch conformity experiment that is very, very inspiring, and it is something that you should definitely all know about. So with this experiment, the way it worked, as you saw from the opening video, was that there was this one naive subject who didn't know what was going on, and you had everybody else who was in on it, who were instructed to give the incorrect answer to a very rudimentary test, like simple stuff. And the way it went is they were all actually told to give the correct answer a couple of times, and then when Professor Asch gave his instructions, they were all told to say the wrong answer. So you had the incorrect answer, and then what he found was, as you saw from the video, it was 35% of people who were tested were actually willing to just conform with the rest of the group. Now, he did say that there were essentially two reasons why someone would do that. One of those reasons is because they genuinely were potentially not sure. You know, after hearing multiple other answers, they were like, am I seeing this right? Like, maybe I'm wrong. Like, if everybody else thinks this, I could be wrong. Maybe that's what. So that's why they would give the answer. But most of the people who gave the incorrect answer knew exactly what the correct answer was. And they lied simply to not cause any kind of a fuss. You know, to just continue to go along with the crowd, not be an outsider here, not create a fuss, and just conform to the group. 35% of the people went along with that. Now here's the part that's incredibly inspiring, and I wanted to share with you today. Professor Asch actually introduced another controlled group, and in this group he added one more person to actually give the correct answer. So now this time it would go, you got the one naive person sitting way over here, and you would have an incorrect answer, wrong answer, wrong answer, wrong answer, correct answer, wrong answer, wrong answer, time for the naive person to answer. And what he discovered was that simply by introducing one person to say the correct answer before the test subject, he found that conformity dropped from 35% all the way down to 5%. That gives me goosebumps and chills, and it gets me so inspired to know that when it comes to, you know, living a life of integrity and speaking the truth that you know to be true, even in the face of everybody else who is saying the opposite, not only are you living a life of integrity, but you are also potentially inspiring others to do the exact same thing, to go against the mass formation psychosis, to go against their own cognitive dissonance, and to actually pursue and speak the truth. So this should be incredibly inspiring to everyone. It reminds me of back during the height of the PSYOP. I remember being in a grocery store, maskless of course, as I always did, and always will and always have been, and it was at a time when 100% of the other people in there were wearing a mask to go shopping. It was mandated at the time in British Columbia. And I remember I'm walking around in the grocery store doing my thing, and I meet a Press for Truth viewer, a fan. I just hear a guy going, "Holy cow, aren't you Dan Dix from Press for Truth? Wow, what are you doing here? Nice to meet you." And so I turn to this guy and I'm like, "Hey, nice to meet you, and what's your name?" And you know, I notice he too is in a mask, just like everybody else. And you know, "Oh, my name's this, you know, I've been living here. Wow, I didn't know you're around here. Cool, yada yada." And then all of a sudden he stops mid-sentence and he goes, "Wait, how are you not wearing a mask right now?" And I just simply stated, well, I mean, I just don't wear masks. I haven't done one throughout the entire process of this whole thing. And he says, but it's a mandate right now all across BC. And I said, well, yeah, mandates aren't laws. And, you know, there are medical exemptions for these mandates, and I rarely even have to go there. Generally, when somebody says you have to wear a mask, I just say I don't wear masks. And it usually pretty much ends there. Sometimes it escalates, but for the most time it ends there. And this guy, right there on the spot, literally grabbed his mask, ripped it off his face, and said to me, "That is so damn inspiring. I am never wearing this stupid thing ever again." And that was an example of that controlled group of the Asch conformity experiment playing out right in front of my very eyes in real life. And it's such an inspiring thing to know that if you remain truthful, you know, you say what you know is true, even if it goes against the crowd, that not only are you, you know, maintaining a sense of integrity within yourself, but you're also potentially inspiring other people to do the same thing, and there may potentially be a ripple effect there, which could spread across the globe like a virus, because the truth is important, and the truth will spread so long as we are willing to take that stand, and, you know, despite what other people might think or say, and to speak that truth openly and honestly and with integrity. And so I just wanted to share this with you, because I think we're in a time right now where we're in a little bit of the eye before the hurricane, the calm before the storm, if you will. We're hearing about this uptick in summer waves everywhere, you know, new variants coming in all the time. Get ready for your new vaccines. It seems that we're being prepared for another one of these things to come down right around the corner at any given moment. So I would hope that this new information about the controlled group within the Asch conformity experiment will encourage you guys to continue to live a life of integrity and to speak the truth, because the truth is so important. And remember, you never know what kind of seeds you might plant out there. You never know who you may inspire, who might go on and inspire others, because like I said, the truth is infectious and we need to spread it just like they say this virus allegedly spreads. So just wanted to bring all of that to your attention today. Hopefully these will serve as some words of encouragement for when the next global pandemic is launched. So if you do appreciate my efforts to bring you this info, please check us out at pressfortruth.ca/donate. I'll put a link in the top of the description on whatever video platform you happen to be watching this on today. And that's all, guys. Just wanted to share that information with you. If you do appreciate my efforts to continuously do so, don't forget to check that top link in the description below. Be sure that you click the thumbs up button on this video. Share this one with all your friends and family who you especially think need to see it the most. You know, those guys who give the incorrect answer even when they know it's right. Please share this video and stay tuned, guys. We're gonna have more video reports coming soon, God willing. This is Dan Dix reporting for Press for Truth. We all want truth. The truth will set you free.